Hey guys, let's talk about the most recent panel to play that has been announced with all of the details following Valkyrie and Elendil and the Warriors 3. I'm James from Midwest Protocol, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the two new characters for Asgard that were announced in the most recent panel to play by Atomic Mass Games, and that is Valkyrie and Elendil and the Warriors 3. So let's start with Valkyrie and Elendil, a 4-threat character who has a 4-3-3 stat line with 6 health on both sides, and surprisingly on a 65mm base with a medium move. So this is a very fast character that can get across the board quite easily with no problems. One other thing to note about this character is all of their attacks are physical based, which is good and bad, but also kind of fits the Asgardian theme across the board with the affiliation. The first attack is going to be Dragon Fang, which is a range 2 5-dice builder, but has a hit trigger for an elusive to move short, which is pretty good and probably fairly likely. And the second attack is going to be Geyer? Who knows? It's a range 3 4-dicer gainer, and if you had been placed or advanced this turn, they get to add 3 dice to the attack roll once per turn. So that is very similar to like a Ghost Spider or other characters that add dice if they move. With a wild vault, which allows them to place themselves within 2 of the defender. So as you can tell, this character, Valkyrie and Elendil, is going to be moving around the board a lot. And finally, their spender, Fury of the Valkyrie, add dice to the attack roll equal to the defender's threat value. So this is a range 3, 5-dice, cost 4 spender with a double hit stagger. So this is going to hit the meta really well, I think, and it's going to fit very well as we see an influx of larger threat characters hitting the board, like a Dormammu or any Immortal Hulk or 6 threat characters on the board. It's going to be this could be a massive attack, which is pretty insane to think about. All right, now let's look at her superpowers. So Take Wing places herself within 2 for 3 power, which is great. Love a good place. And then finally, she has Need a Lift for 2 power. This is just a basic airlift that moves a model that's size 3 or less within 2 of their current position if Valkyrie and Elendil start within 2 of the character that is getting moved once per turn. So that's a great way to reposition your team on the board and get the movement started. Last but not least, let's talk about one of her coolest superpowers that I think is a great addition to this character and also would make her a great fit in Asgard, but also in a lot of other affiliations, just to make her a tankier model, and that is Guardian of Valhalla. When another allied non-grunt character is dazed or KO'd, this character gains 1 power and may remove 1 wound or 1 special condition from herself. So that is a fantastic way to keep Valkyrie and Elendil alive throughout the game and also be able to generate more power for them as they are able to utilize that quite efficiently based off of this kit. Now, all of their attacks and superpowers are the exact same on the flip side. There's no real difference there. All right, now let's talk about the Warriors 3, Fandral, Hogan, and Bolstag. They have a 3-3-3 across the board on both sides with 5 health on the front and 5 health on the back. They're a threat value of 3 with a size 2 and a short move. So all that to say, okay, they have weak defense, low health, low threat, and they're kind of slow. But if you look at Warriors 3 and compare them to a similarly designed character, and that would be the Wrecking Crew, they are very, very similar in their design space, which has the potential to execute 3 different attack actions in a single turn with just a bit of power, if you will. So let's go over their attacks. The first attack is a builder called Bridgandr, range 2, 5-dicer. I think that's right, with a wild stun. Pretty standard builder, range 2 physical attack. And then their second attack is a range 3, 4-dice gainer called Fimbuldur. I think I got that one too. Hey, here we go, 2 for 2. Wild Bleed with a Wild Hit Pierce. The Wild Hit Pierce is really interesting. It's, when it happens, great, but you're definitely not fishing for that pierce whatsoever. And finally, let's look at their spender, Branderhide Undresiger. 3 for 3. Got it. Range 2, 4-dicer, costing 4 power. Now, this one also has the similar attack profile as Valkyrie and Elendil's spender, which is add dice to this attack roll equal to the defender's threat value, which is pretty insane. Like seeing that in two different characters released in the same box that have this kind of add a threat value to your dice roll is pretty cool to see that happening. So I'm excited that AMG is using this this design space more and more often. And finally, this attack has a wild skull trigger, which is really interesting as well. After this attack resolved, the defender suffers 3 wounds. So whoever you're attacking would suffer 3 wounds. And then this character, the Warriors 3, gains a stagger special condition. So it's kind of like, okay, sure, you do 3 more damage, but then you also get stagger. So it's, you know, take it or leave it, whatever you want from that aspect. All right, now let's look at their superpowers. The first one is going to be Strike 1 for Vol Stag. It costs 2 power, and it says this character may immediately perform a 0-cost attack targeting an enemy character within range 2. And after that attack is resolved, if the attack roll contains any score results, this character, meaning the Warriors 3, suffers 1 wound. And that can only be done once per turn. So that's also how you can execute 3 different attack actions in a single turn. So in theory, all you need is 2 power and to be within range 2 of a character, and you'll be able to do 3 different attacks. The second superpower is going to be called My Steel Shall Strike for Thee. It costs 2 power as well. And after an attack targeting this character is resolved, the Warriors 3 may use the superpower, and if the attacker is within range 3, they may make a Fimbuldur attack targeting it. So they have a nice counter attack using an actual attack action on that character. Finally, one of their more interesting superpowers is Grim Resolve. When this character suffers a wound from an enemy attack, after the attack is resolved, this character may advance short towards that character, and if it does, it may remove 1 wound from itself. So it's cool, like it gets them back into the action and heals themselves as they are moving across the board. You know, overall, I think the Warriors 3 are a fun kit to have on the table. They're a nice variation of a 3 threat for the Asgardians. That'll be a lot of fun to see on the table. Plus, they also seem to have a decent amount of movement. Even with their 65mm base and a short move tool, they can still get around decently, but their goal is probably just to sit and attack as much as they possibly can. Okay, now let's look at the new Team Tactics cards that will be coming in this box. There are 4 of them. The first one is going to be Ride of the Valkyries. So during Valkyrie and Elendil or Brunhild's activation, one or both of these characters may each spend 4 power each to play this card. Each character that spent power to play the card drops all the objectives that they're holding and then place themselves within 3 of their current position. Finally, each of those characters may make an attack with a cost of 0, which is really interesting. I didn't realize until I was reading the panel to play that Valkyrie actually does not have Brunhild's name on her as her alias, and so that's really exciting. You can play, in theory, both Valkyries to be able to use this card, which is obviously the intent, to be able to do that, which is really interesting to have that on the board. I think this card probably will see a decent amount of play in Asgard, especially because it allows them to place so far, especially on the 65mm base, and do a free attack. The second Team Tactics card is Warriors Frenzy. When Valkyrie and Elendil dazes or KOs an enemy character with an attack during their activation, after it's resolved, Valkyrie and Elendil may spend 3 power, and then they get to advance short, and then they can choose an interactive terrain feature or an enemy character, both size 3 or less, within 2, and throw it medium. Now, I think this card is pretty great, honestly. The likelihood you end up dazing a character with Valkyrie and Elendil is fairly high because they're going to want to be sitting around and just turreting and shooting or killing as much as possible, right? Dazing. And then you can utilize this card. For 3 power, for a free move, and a size 3 throw, I think that's fairly worth the cost. All right, now let's look at the next Team Tactics card, and that is Warrior's Oath. So when another allied Asgard character attacks an enemy character, after that attack is resolved, an allied Warriors 3 within range 3 of that allied character may spend 2 to 6 power to play this card. Now this is where it gets really, really interesting. Place Warriors 3 within range 1 of that allied character. Then for each 2 power paid to play this card, choose a different effect below to resolve, and you resolve each one before moving to the next. Okay, so let's look at what each of the options are. You have 3 options. You have to spend 2 for each one effectively, right? So the first one is Fandrel's Biting Wit. Choose an enemy character within range 2 of Warriors 3, and it gains the shock and stun special conditions. The second one is Hogun's Elixir of Recovery. Choose an allied character within range 2 of Warriors 3, and remove up to 2 wounds from the chosen character. So this could be they choose themselves to heal, right? And finally, Volstag's Courage. Choose up to 2 other allied characters within range 2 of Warriors 3, and each chosen character gains 1 power. And this one specifically is you cannot choose yourself, right? Because it's saying 2 other allied characters. At least that's how I'm interpreting this. So everyone else will be able to get the power for that. Interesting card. I don't necessarily know if this gets too much competitive play because it requires the Warriors 3 and it costs a lot of power to utilize. However, there is some interesting play patterns to be able to utilize. Fandrel's Biting Wit is kind of the least exciting aspect of this card. However, a heal and additional power is always a great way to be able to take advantage of a card. And finally, the last team tactics card is Deeds Worthy of Song. So during the power phase, an allied Asgard character may play this card, and when they do, we set it near the battlefield instead of discarding it. The first time each of the following conditions is met, you put 1 Worthy Deed token on this card. So before we go any further, this is very, very similar to the new card with Spider-Man Noir, who collects investigation tokens to be able to create VPs at the end of a round. Okay, so let's look at the different options. The first one is Slay the Monster. An allied character KOs an enemy character that has a threat value of 5 or more. The second one is Drive Out the Invaders. 2 or more enemy characters are dazed or KO'd by collisions during an allied character's activation, which is, man, both of those seem really challenging. The third one is Protect the Small. An allied character dazes or KOs 2 or more enemy characters during its activation and ends that activation within range 2 of another allied character that has a threat value of 2 or less. Okay, that also is really interesting too, because Asgard, as we know, does not have any 2 threats. So it's intriguing that that is the choice to have that there. And the fourth option is going to be Ragnarok. An allied character is dazed or KO'd, and 2 or more other allied characters have been dazed or KO'd this round. So legitimately, 3 characters have to have been dazed or KO'd to get a token for this one. Finally, if you had played this card during any cleanup, you may remove 2 Worthy Deed tokens from this card and discard it, and if you do, you score 2 VPs. So I don't think it's incredibly unrealistic that you would get this to pop off. However, I think more often than not, you're going to get the Ragnarok to occur, or potentially Drive Out the Invaders. But dazing 2 or more enemy characters, specifically by collisions, in a single activation is very, very challenging to do. And Protect the Small is an interesting choice as well, because you have to have a threat value of 2 character within your roster, and Asgard doesn't naturally have that. That's it, guys. Valkyrie and Elendil and the Warriors 3 are now coming to Marvel Crisis Protocol very, very soon. We now have the cards to be able to look at to make some speculations, but now we also know that they are officially on 65mm bases, which is very cool to see that happening. And we also know the threat values for roster building. How do you guys feel about these characters? Are you excited to see them in Asgard? Are you excited to splash them in other affiliations? Where do you want to see them played out? I would love to hear about it in the comments. I'd love to talk all about building your Asgardian roster so that we can see that being played in the future. That said, though, I'm James from Midwest Protocol. Now it's time to get back to gaming.